Impromptu Hellfire horror stories with Morat and Real. Mostly to clear off tabs from my phone. All right, first story from Rail 1HP. This happened way back in the day. I was probably only 16 or 17. My group was the DM, me, and one other player. We were playing 3.5, and the rules of that system are a bit foggy now. I'm not sure whether this was a homebrew or the actual rules, but either way, we were playing with the rules that if you were down, you lost a hit point every round due to bleeding. By down, it's 0 or under. And if you hit -10, you died. That is the actual official rules. My character went down by being struck in the throat, so he ruled that I was losing 3 hit points each round. That part's homebrew. When combat ended, the other player tried to save me by putting a handful of good berries in my mouth. DM had him roll an intelligence check. I will be on my deathbed remembering that he rolled a 4. That 4 is seared into my brain as the exact dialogue that followed. The DM went, "Yeah, looks fine," and went about describing the loot he was getting. After about a minute, he said, "Oh, by the way, OP, you're dead." Obviously, I was surprised and went, "What? Why?" Very calmly, he explained, "He didn't roll well enough to know that you couldn't swallow, so you choked to death." This remains the only time in my nearly 3 decades of playing D&D that I have rage quit a table. I would have laughed if that happened to me.
I mean, I think stuff like that is fine so long as the rules are well known at the table, I guess.
Yeah.
True.
So it sounds like there might have been additional homebrewing beyond that. Beyond
I would have had a little bit of the juice is keeping you stable. You're still unconscious until they remember, oh right, we need to give this guy the Heimlich. But still, if it happened to me, I would have been cool with it because that's just so dumb.
It's so dumb. I could see why OP would have been mad about it though.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
All right, next story from My Dog Wants to Eat Me.
Excuse me.
That's their username. This happened hopefully in the consuming way and not the I rubbed peanut butter on myself way. This happened in 2008, I think. Right after school, most of my D&D group disbanded because most people did go to different cities because of work or university. I still played with 2 of my school players because we were only in half an hour up to 1 hour driving distance. The host made a lavish buffet on game night full of food items, drinks, and snacks. We all agreed to give him some money if we chose to take some of it. If you didn't want to share the cost, you had to bring your own food and drink. He did not want to collect money every game in person, so we placed a piggy bank in the kitchen so we could just put the money in there. So far, seems reasonable. Yeah, the piggy bank was never in use. We gave him some money in person at the end of the day. He put the money in the piggy bank himself. After some time, an old player wanted to return to the group. He had a long drive, up to an hour and a half, but he really wanted to play again. The old player was complaining about the long drive. As the host explained the buffet concept, the player demanded free food because of his gas cost for the long drive. I don't see a connection between those two. because one of those is his responsibility.
Yeah, like if you're the one that wants to play, it's kind of on you. Unfortunately.
Yeah. You weren't being invited. All right. The host said he doesn't have to take food if he doesn't want to pay for it. The gas cost was his own because he chose to return to the group of his own free will, knowing about the distance. The old player sulked for the night. After the game, as everyone had left, the host noticed that the piggy bank was missing some money. As confronted, the old player admitted to taking the money to cover his gas cost. After the incident, we established an everybody brings their own food and drinks rule because we had new players regularly and didn't want any more drama because of money. But the buffet was gone too.
Yep. R.I.P. the buffet.
For real,
It
that
sounds
sucks.
like an awesome concept ruined by one jerk.
Yeah, like I definitely think that that'd be an enjoyable thing to engage in as a player. Is like this sort of communal space where you got lots of snackies, you know.
Yeah.
But that is unfortunate. Yeah, like if you're the one that like is like, hey, I want to play, and you're committing to that drive up front, then that's the money is just your responsibility. The cost is your responsibility.
Exactly.
I could see, like, if they invited him, they're like, "Hey, we really want you to play with us," where they might try to make a little more, maybe a little
Concession.
more effort to be accommodating or something like that. But
Yeah.
Like, it could have gone so well, so easily, if not for that one person. All right, next one. Mildly agitated Bidoof. So I'm setting up a new... What?
only mildly agitated.
Like, I waited for you to comment, but then...
Sorry, I was slow on the fire that time.
So I'm setting up a new Pathfinder campaign a few months ago. I invite a few close friends, and one of them asks, "Hey, can I send an invitation to my D&D group?" I say yes, not knowing what the future result would be. Enter Chris. He browses Reddit, so I don't want to let him know he's here. It's a fake name. One day, we're making our characters. First thing he tells me about his character: "I don't care what class I am, as long as I'm a human. Specifically, a white human. The best kind."
Off rip.
I chuckle, assuming it's a joke, and have him roll for class. His character is a white human monk. Day 2, we actually start the campaign. About half an hour in, I introduce a soon-to-be major NPC. The NPC is a half Tengu, a hybrid race I created. The conversation goes like this. He approaches you with a sad look in his eyes. He resembles a human, but instead of arms, he has black wings, a la the Rito from Wind Waker. Chris: "So he's a mutant degenerate. That's pretty bad. We should euthanize him, put him out of his misery." Your character wouldn't do that. He's lawful good. But I think euthanizing mutants should be lawful, so...
Jesus.
You're thinking chaotic good with a mindset like that. I'll play chaotic good then. Good, we got that solved. Where were we? This strange hybrid also has blonde hair, dark skin. Oh, so he's a N-word mutant degenerate.
Oh my god.
Oh!
The room goes silent as everyone stares at him in shock. After a few moments of nobody responding, I continue reading. In addition to all this, he's wearing a beautiful white robe. My character assumes it's a dress, screams, Tranny! And stabs the degenerate while R-E-E-ing. I don't know what that is. All right. Over the next few sessions, he deals about 5 damage per battle, but due to being the quickest puzzle... Okay, first off, they kept him around for 5 sessions.
That's what I'm saying. 5 whole sessions after that shit.
Yeah, like one tops.
Yeah. Like, you utter the N-word, you are just gone from the table. That's one of those no excuse kind of things.
This is like activity I expect from like a middle school D&D club.
Yeah, where you can't kick them from the table.
Yeah.
When you're trying to be edgy. Anyway, he's the quickest puzzle solver. He brags about how he's carrying the whole team, despite 5 damage per combat. His chaotic good monk calls the NPC some combination of degenerate, tranny, and N-word to his face every time they meet. He also constantly complained about how one certain member of the group smelled. This member did not smell, but he said that being a weeaboo, the person was playing a kitsune, inherently makes you stink like shit. Eventually, after 4 sessions worth of pro-Trump rants and recommendations for Milo I'm not even going to try to pronounce that book every 15 minutes, I had to tell him to tone it down, and he refused. I eventually silently kicked him out. Thank God for being the DM. A bit late for that.
Yeah, what? I feel like if I were a player at that table and I had to sit through 1 session of that without him getting kicked out, let alone 5, I'd be out of there.
Like, if you specify you want to play as a white human, the best race, I'm already getting ready to kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I was not the person running that game, I'd be like, maybe maybe this is a one-off, maybe it was just a miscolored joke. But after that 1 session, I'd probably pull the DM aside and be like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah, or like, the fact that it went on that long, I'd be like, fuck this noise, I'm out of here.
Yeah, so I'm going to count that as the 1 Nazi per episode.
Sounds about right.
Naturally.
Okay, this might be the last one for the night. Depends on how long it takes. This is by Throwaway Crybabe. Alright, hi there, this is my first story here. This is a story that kind of still takes place, starting in the beginning of 2023, and the names are changed. Maybe this would belong more in Am I the Asshole? Maybe this is no horror story yet. I'd love to hear more opinions. Also, before we start, the obligatory English is not my first language. Okay, people involved in the story, and they're all in their early 20s. There's the poster, who is the DM, and the only woman at the table.
Oh, good.
Oh, boy.
There is Honey the Cleric, Chili the Barbarian, Wheat the Rogue, Cream the Fighter, and Parsley the Sorcerer, names changed for anonymity. And, you won't even have to guess, the problem player, Cheese the Wizard.
Yeah, that checks out.
And not at the table, but involved, was my partner, Cherry. It all started with me wanting to create a tryout campaign with the D&D 5e rule set. A little bigger than a one-shot, but more sandbox-like. I planned on using time loops to have players be able to try out the stupid stuff and see how they could use what NPCs. That's a weirdly phrased sentence. Anyways, I already playtested it with my usual table as an adapted side quest in the campaign, so I was pretty confident about running it with more people playing lower-leveled characters. I knew my potential players would live far away, so I decided to do the sessions via Discord and Tabletop Simulator.
Classic.
Yep. I was hesitant to have more than 5 players because of the downside of not playing in person. First to snatch a seat at the table was Wheat, who also entered Honey, Cream, and Parsley preemptively. They're a group of pretty tight-knit friends, so I knew them well and what craziness to expect from them when playing. Then my 5th player, Chili, asked to join. I didn't know him that well, but the others vouched for him, and the casual talk we had, as well as his character sheet, made it pretty easy for me to agree to him joining. At this point in the story, we have 5 players, and I said I'd feel comfortable with 5 players, so you would probably expect that this is the point where we start the campaign and the players kill themselves off within the first 10 minutes, but no! This, you see, is where the problem player joins the story. Honey was excited that he was finally able to get a seat at a table, so he bragged to his friends, which is how Cheese heard from my table and asked to join. Because Honey strongly vouched for Cheese and he seemed fine when talking to him, I decided to give him a chance. Cheese also bragged about his deep D&D knowledge and how he had already experienced creating characters but never had the chance to play. So I thought that he could do the character creation without my help, with some pointers from Honey, since I had to check 5 other character sheets and already asked Cherry to check the sheets stat-wise. I'm already getting, like, a little bit of a questionable vibe, because he's like, yeah, I know how to play. I've made characters. Never been able to play, though.
I never made it out of session 0.
Here I'd like to admit that I heavily rely on homebrew and prefer to do social encounters, world building, NPC, and puzzle parts. Combat and stats are what I try to get better at, so Cherry helped me out when it came to the number part of the game. Alright, so here are the rules she had for creating a character. Races and classes from the player's handbook, extensions, modules, Unearthed Arcana, and the web were fine. But no personally made creations. Using a base race and saying it's something else for flavor is fine if there is nothing else fitting.
Fair enough.
I wanted each character to have at least one bond. I already had some NPCs, which I'd offer and showcase to explain why I want that. Homebrewing was fine as long as I evaluated it first. Characters didn't get a feat at level 1, because I didn't know that they'd get one, according to Cheese, but decided to keep it like that because, in my opinion, they should get a feel for the class and the game mechanics first. Same with backgrounds. And yeah, that's still kind of rules as written. Like, certain races, like human, mechanically give you a bonus feat. This is just not free feat to everybody. And I prefer players to have lore explanations for why they set their characters up the way they do. For example, multi-classing into a warlock. How did it happen? That also works with asking for benefits. If Wheat says his rogue needs Vicious Mockery as a cantrip because he's known in the underworld to drop the sickest disses, then I'd give it to him. In short, if you can explain it and I deem it believable, you can have it. Of course, up to a certain degree, and if it's too good, I might add a trade-off.
Sounds
So
fair.
it seems reasonable. Now the interesting part. What did Cheese actually do to piss me off?
Oh no.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I'll start with the things I can remember clearly. Cheese wanted to go for pretty niche races for his wizard, like Homunculus, the Golden One, and Fallen Angel. Honey's cleric also had the fallen angel as a race, but he sent me a reference and my partner approved it, so we got it. However, the references Cheese sent me were either from 3.5 D&D or completely unbalanced, often with descriptions like perfect or perfected, which gave me the ick, which I did tell him.
Yeah,
Ollie, have you seen any of those in the homebrew section where it is a base of something but then just cranked to 11? Totally unbalanced.
I don't think 3.5 really balances super well trying to just copy paste it over to 5e.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great. I haven't poked around the homebrew races a lot, but I can imagine.
He sent me another page to a perfect homunculus, but for 5th edition, which also made me feel icky, not just because of the name, but also what description and abilities it gave. Some excerpts from the page, to give you a taste. A perfect homunculus appears to be identical to a human, but its body is stronger and less fragile. Even if it is modeled after a specific person, the homunculus always appears more attractive. Perfect homunculi can speak all the languages possible, and in case of not understanding one type of language, can learn after hearing someone speak it for a few minutes.
Oh.
Dark vision. As the perfection of humanity, you are able to see better than anyone else.
No.
It just says dark vision, yes.
Yeah.
Dark vision, yes, lots of it.
Create. As the culmination of creation, perfect homunculi know exactly how to build things even without any tools.
Excuse me.
Is he playing Minecraft?
Like, yes, this is my very fair and balanced homebrew race.
Soul's core. The core of a homunculus is a philosopher's stone. When a perfect homunculus is killed but their body, and specifically their heart, is intact, they can be raised from the dead by anyone who can heal their damage above -10, again 3.5, and make a DC 30 heal check. This restores the homunculus to life, but after revival, the homunculus is useless for 7 days. After being revived this way, the homunculus core is unstable and can therefore no longer be revived in this way. So don't need a res, just a healing spell. And a save.
I mean,
It's a pretty high save, but
I mean, the thing is, like, you could take something similar to that. Like, there are races in like core D&D where the race advances as you level, and like not that you could like do something that zany like that.
Yeah,
Like, you could do
right.
something similar. You could do something with the essence of that. You know, be like how gnomes have like natural tinkerer. You could have that and be like, hey, you get proficiency with some extra tools. You get
Instead of you need no tools and can build anything.
yeah,
you get a bonus language, that kind of thing, and then it's like, oh, at level 3 you get a little something, and at level 8 you get a little something, or something like that, you know?
yeah, it's just, with the tools thing, he's just playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
And that one-time phylactery is a bit much. And the last one, enhance. Homunculi are
more.
capable of amputating external body parts. So many of them were created with wings. You can fly with a speed of 30 feet.
Of course. Naturally.
So a human with dark vision and a one-time phylactery and can fly and does not need tools for anything.
And speaks every language.
And speaks every language.
Also, that like little excerpt didn't explain why they have wings. Yes, they amputate their body parts, so they have wings. That's not what that means.
with so many of them were created with wings is the only justification given.
Like to give them more things to cut off, or like what? What is the connection there?
I don't know. Of course, I'm not really good with numbers, so I asked Sherry to check it out and sent some screenshots as well as the page itself. But speaking every language, I was already bothered by it and would have only allowed it with some kind of major drawback. I didn't even see the bad English back then. I have been speaking normal versions of these sentences. They are riddled with errors.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even see the bad English back then. I only realized it when copying the parts from the website just then. I also love a little something the web page added in the meantime. This page is of questionable balance. Reason seems more like a creature NPC than a playable race. So, someone saw and edited the page.
Oh, damn.
Back to the story. I then got confirmation from Cherry that the race's balance was whack, which I told him needs. This is where things got weird. I pointed out some of the overpowered things to him, since he couldn't understand what exactly was unbalanced. I was hung up on the languages especially, because only one other player had something somewhat similar. Wheat, his rogue, is a bird and can mimic languages after a few minutes. I did accept it since he didn't really ask for other things, which did cost him that I wouldn't allow other things if he wanted to ask for a little boost or something. All right. He also effectively nullified Parsley's sorcerer, who had a building mechanic we designed, by the wizard being able to create stuff without any tools. So already doing two things better than other characters that were built for those things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a blatantly overpowered homebrew race. I don't know why they would like let it fly.
I mean, it's being discussed currently.
Yeah.
He's told me that the race description said something completely different. So I sent him a screenshot I took for Cherry, and he sent one back with a different description for the languages. I was so confused, especially since the website said what he sent. I was at work on a short break, so I didn't take time to think what this meant, but I'm sure you know the implications. Can you guess?
Can what?
She tried calling him out on it. He sent a screenshot back. She looked at the screenshot, which was different from hers. She checked the website, and it agreed with his screenshot.
So he edited it?
He made the race and is trying put it on the website, and he's trying to pass it off.
Oh
And
my
he's like,
God.
no, it's not that. Look, it's different.
Which also means throughout the campaign, he could continue to edit without her noticing, and to be like, hey, the page says I can do this.
Oh my God.
So I decided to offer Cheese a deal I already offered before he sent the new webpage. Either stick to the player's handbook or get a balanced version of a homunculus, not perfect, and created by Cherry. He chose the latter, and looking back, this whole situation should have been strike one. Only after the race was finished, with Cheese being impatient and offering another race from some web page, I was randomly told by Honey that Cheese created perfect homunculus entry on the website himself and proudly told Honey how he was bamboozling me. Still
God.
surprised that
There it
on
is.
me earlier. You're bragging to another player who is on good terms with the DM about you
Yeah.
pulling one over on the DM.
Like if they already just like weren't likable, now they're even more unlikable.
Honey is pretty creative and writes stories every now and then, so he helped with backstory writing for the other characters when the players asked for help. He was also closest to Cheese, which is why I asked him to help Cheese with the character creation. Honey already knew what was important to me and what I'd look for. They ended up writing a backstory together, as well as the character sheet, and used an NPC that had only been outlined up until then, as well as the Demon Queen. Maybe I should describe the base plot at this point. The Try-Out campaign would be a challenge, overseen by the Demon Queen to test out each individual for a potential task force. An open lead into the campaign, if people were interested. In this case, it was important for me that each player character was on equal footing with one another to prevent spotlight hogs. At that point, Cheese's wizard was a discarded experiment created by the fighter's father, ordered by the Demon Queen, which was something I found good. I give him my okay on the backstory because the other characters were somewhat equal when looking at the relationships between them and the Demon Queen. Now imagine my surprise when I asked a while later about the latest state of Cheese's wizard, which I think I did with everyone from the table to have them in on the chats and to download them. And I got a complete rework of the sheet. He didn't say anything about it prior to me asking. He changed background, stats, and backstory, saying he corrected it and that he watched a tutorial explaining to me why this and that worked with the way he set up the character when I asked. Why he had this many spells, this many cantrips, these abilities, which didn't make that much sense to me with either backstory he had. Just making up how many spell slots he's supposed to have.
You already get a lot. Like, especially a lot of spells and a lot of cantrips as a wizard.
He watched a tutorial.
I watched a tutorial. That's what it said to do. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like, plausible deniability.
Yeah. All right. I not only felt disrespected for my partner, who spent time balancing a race that was far too OP and created by Cheese, I also had already given my okay for the backstory, and he didn't say a word about changing it. And by the way, Honey didn't know a thing about the changes. Not only that, but the way he changed the NPCs, especially the Demon Queen, which played the role of client and boss, made me rather furious. His wizard went from a discarded experiment to a prince, which meant he meddled too much with NPCs I'd use, which was another ick of mine. He not only gave his wizard a whole-ass mother-son bond with one of the most important NPCs in the setting, as if she's obsessed with him, but also changed his standing, giving himself a higher rank than the other players at the table.
Jeez.
I saw yeah. In your backstory, just changing the NPCs.
Yeah, that's not on.
I saw the potential for a spotlight hog, which made me furious. He also decides to keep parts of the characters a secret so I could use them for some extra plot. Question mark. Also, 6 cantrips.
Oh.
As well as the Goodberry spell at level 1. And some other min-maxing behavior, which meant painful combat. I already had min-maxers at the table, and when I heard them talk about how they'd pre-plan combat with focusing on their damage output, I felt fearful for the enemies and me. I guess I don't mesh well with them. I accept that, so I warn those types of players that they might not have as much fun at my type of table. That was strike 2.
That's only strike 2.
Like, I'm thinking wizards don't get access to Goodberry, right?
At all?
Only if you take. There's a feat. There's a feat you can take.
I doubt
Was
he
it
did.
Magic Initiate? Boom, that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, there's no shot he took that. Because they're level 1 and they don't have feats.
True.
Yeah. I don't remember when I got Good Bay, but I'm definitely not a wizard, so.
Around the same time, I also heard from Wheat how Cheese tried to offer advice to him about his rogue and how to optimize his sheet. To me, it looked more like throat showing. It wouldn't have been a problem if the advice was welcomed, but he just went ahead and created a new sheet for Wheat's rogue and added the changes he deemed better.
I mean, if you're a low level, like, how many changes you be making anyways?
Just the fact that you see some other player's sheet, like, I'm going to remake your sheet, but better.
Yeah, that's.
That's gross.
Just self-imposing it, yeah. You're like, I did this better than you. Here you go. You're welcome.
I'm glad he didn't give a shit about it and kept his old sheet saved somewhere.
That's good.
I also only allowed Honey and Parsley to help out other players because they knew what they were doing at that point. So anyway, that's strike 3. I told Cheese how unhappy I was with how he handled the situation, and that I had already warned him that he was on his last chance when I asked him about the changed backstory, and that I'd talked to the player he admitted helping. Now imagine how surprised I was when Cheese sent me a new version of his character just 5 minutes later.
My God.
Does not know when to quit.
Bro was just like, okay, how about this? Does this look balanced now?
He was like in the middle of cooking it up when he got the text. He was like, well, I can't stop now.
I had to explain to him that his last chance was gone, and he was confused why it's gone because of a background. He didn't even see the issue. I had to explain to him that he did wrong in my eyes, and I only told him about the backstory and him just deciding he's allowed to add a feat when Honey didn't even know they existed when he was asked, like he could have asked me about adding one. I didn't even mention the issue with the website yet. So all he thinks is changing the background was the only warning. Like the only strike.
Oh. Bro was like discussed about several times over different things. And it's like, I don't understand why just this one thing is such an issue.
Yeah, honestly, that is a lot of people.
Either that or they're playing ignorant to it. They're either willfully ignorant to it or...
Like, a lot of people will do a lot of shitty things and then focus on the single least shitty thing they did and blame that for why people are ostracizing them.
I mean, nobody wants to see themselves as a bad person, you know? Yeah. No one wants to see themselves as having done wrong. But it's important that we can acknowledge when we've done wrong. So you can, like, learn and grow as people.
Especially if you're doing wrong, like, and it's affecting other people.
Yeah. Like, the moment he started fixing other people's sheets, he still never played a game. This is still, like, not even at session 0 yet.
Yeah. Like, even if you were, like a seasoned player or something, and you saw someone's sheet and it looked a little janked up, the polite thing to do would be like, hey, man, I see some weird stuff going on your sheet. Could I maybe help you fix that? And just, like, ask like a person.
Yeah. That's what happened to me when everyone was like, we're level 10. How do you have 40 health?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that. That's so funny.
How did that even happen?
I had my hit points set to manual instead of fixed, and I leveled my character up from like the level 3 or whatever it was at when I started till the time skip of like a full IRL year. and did not add any hit points whatsoever.
Yeah, I like the automatic hit points. I don't care about rolling. Rolling can screw you. I'd rather just go average.
I used to roll, and then I was like, this is too much work.
Like
I
back,
switched it to average.
like for me in high school, 3rd edition, pen, paper, and pencil, then yeah, you would roll because there is no automatic.
Yeah.
What I used to do in my games to make it like an exciting thing is I gave players options, right? Is I was like, you can either take the average, and I was like, or you can roll a die and I can roll a die, and you can have the higher of both of those.
Okay, that is like not even a gamble at that point.
No, the odds are pretty good, you know. Very rarely would a player like lose in that scenario.
I mean, you're rolling health with advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cheese then asked me if I couldn't just maybe give him another last chance. And I asked him another last chance. He then promised he wouldn't change anything anymore unless I told him to. But thankfully, I had a thing at work that required me to prepare and kept me busy, so I told him something along the lines of, I'm actually busy, and you already had 2 chances. Oh, we hit the hour mark. Goddamn puzzle piece bullshit.
Yeah, do your puzzle piece.
There was one time where the puzzle piece did not load, and we had to restart the stream.
Oh, God.
YouTube will not see the puzzle piece thing. I think my image might pause during that. All right. I told you you already had 2 chances. One when you joined and one when you pulled the thing with the website. Funnily enough, one of my players just sent me screenshots I sent from the chat with Cheese, in which Cheese deleted the last message he sent me.
Oh my God.
So you're talking with this player about last chances. He deletes one of the messages and then screenshots and shows it to the other players.
Like, oh, Nez, if you do a long live, it's like a little CAPTCHA thing it makes you do, I think, to make sure you're a real person, where you have to, like, drag a puzzle piece into, like, a puzzle piece shaped hole.
Yeah, which normally I don't mention. It's just that there was this one time it did not load the puzzle piece. And so my live ended.
Got you. Yeah, like editing screenshots to make yourself look better is such a huge red flag.
Yeah. I actually believe I was imagining things, or it might have happened in a voice chat, but he sent me it, and I'll translate it. If you do change your mind, hit me up. I found it so pathetic, and he might have too, since he deleted that message. Edited a message in to make it sound like you were giving him another chance. My blood was boiling at this point. So I went to Cherry to let off some steam and sent the screenshots to one of the players and talked about how ridiculous this was. I also ended up talking to the rest of the table about the situation, and they agreed that under these circumstances, they were fine with my decision. I'm assuming to boot. And whenever he joined the chat when I was there, I just slowly left so I wouldn't have to deal with him. And that was the guy who got a chance, tried to bamboozle me, feeling smug about abusing a loophole, and tried to explain why I had to allow him this and that. He tested my patience again and again, and he finally got barred from the table for good. Right?
Right?
Question mark.
One could only hope so. Hey, I wonder why this guy's never played D&D before.
Because he keeps pulling this shit.
I can already imagine how some people might facepalm at this point, begging me to stop torturing myself. But sadly, the story keeps going.
Oh. I'm still like, how has this guy played less D&D than N-word guy?
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right. We have to time skip to a few months ago.
Oh, God.
At this point, the tryout campaign was finished, and my party liked it. Usually I play D&D on my server due to permissions and rights, but because of potential issues with a friend of theirs, we decided to stay there for the table's new one-shot to keep him company and a little distracted with our game. Well, guess who joined the voice chat during the session?
Oh, God.
When he joined, he realized that I was doing a one-shot, and he begged to stay and watch along. I allowed it under the conditions that he doesn't distract the players and that he shuts up when I do the DM stuff. So he's not even playing. He is peanut gallery at this point. To his credit, he did stay quiet during the game and didn't bother. But when we had a break, he tried to tell Wheat again how he could just do this and that in the fight, or try this and that with his rogue. If Wheat didn't tell him, I'll just see where this is going, to shut him up, then I would have had to step in. After the break, everything went fine until the end, where Cream and I had a little fight because of how each of us handled combat. His fighter died because I stopped being lenient after my nerves had been grinded due to the length of the session. Okay, that's kind of a DM problem, though.
Yeah.
But the being lenient, I mean, if they're low level, sure. There comes a point I will just have every monster unload magic missile into one particular person.
I wonder what's happened there before. I mean,
Morat, get this. Okay, so I had Cassius down because all three hags are like unloading magic missile and using all of their spell slots just to knock him down.
Oh.
He did not have access to D&D Beyond or dice. So we would call out another player to roll his death saves.
Jesus.
and I was like, oh.
And at one point, it came down to 2 fails and 2 successes. And he had
No. Oh, my God.
to call on someone to decide his fate.
At that point, you just tell him to flip a coin.
I mean, a coin is worse odds than a normal death save.
How so?
A death save 10
like it's
or
10.
higher. Yeah. So you have slightly better odds rolling the d20.
Yeah, so average on a d20 is 10.5.
But yeah, Cassius's life was in another player's hand.
And it was very close.
And that player had already lost a character in that same battle to 3 failed death saves.
My God. If I rolled a death save for someone else and it killed them, I would feel so bad.
But, I mean, for some monsters, it really makes sense, though, because these a lot of monsters are intelligent. And I don't think a lot of monsters get played as intelligent as they maybe should, you know?
Yep. But you cleaned out those hags, so knowledge of your exploits have not yet entered the hag net.
I was going to say, would they make... Did these hags know of Cuddles?
Okay, this is just for all DMs. The fucking hag net is such a good plot device. There is a little bit in the monster manual that says that basically all hags know each other. And they are horrible gossips. So if you are running multiple games with different groups and they come across a hag, a different campaign with a different group could come across a different hag that will know the other group's characters.
All fun and games until we find a hag in 314.
Oh my.
Oh
Not
my
yet.
god.
They did what?
Yes, Nez, I would probably allow you to play a hag if we could find a way to balance it. But yeah, the hags, they hate each other, but they gossip like crazy. Which is why, like, if you find a hag in a royal court, it's because she's like the gossip master.
Yeah, a well of infinite knowledge.
Just getting all the good information, yeah.
Okay. After the break, everything went fine until the end, where Cream had a little. Oh, right. When we finished, Cheese asked again about joining, with the argument that if it's still just some kind of prequel for the actual campaign and just a tryout, then he could just play one of those. When I asked him about why I should let him even join, he said that he had changed, and it's been some time since then, about a year. I'll also add that, in that moment, I forgot about the website situation and only remembered that he changed the NPCs far too much for my comfort.
The website thing is absolutely unhinged, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to tell him that I'd just bully him and treat him unfairly, as seen with Cream and his fighter, and Cheese deflected by telling me he'd deal with that and he'd be fine.
Come on, man.
Bro is really just trying to
Swearsies.
play a tabletop. He's like, please let me in.
Please, it's been months and no one's let me play.
I didn't even say the N-word.
I haven't even played D&D yet. It's been years.
Then I argued that it'd be no fun with me as a DM, especially when I obviously don't like him, and with me not being a good combat DM. He said that it'll work out and just fine, and it'll be fun for sure. My last argument was, but listen, it's better just not play than to be at a table with a bad DM. No D&D is better than bad D&D. He again assured me that I'll be fine. Or it'll be fine. Like, you're trying to let him off so easy. He's just not
but
going to.
at that rate, like, brother, just find a new table. It cannot be that hard. You're already on Discord finding people. You got Reddit for that. Come on.
Since those subtle no's didn't work and my patience was gone, I decided to go ahead and give him another chance.
Dear God.
I explained that when I set a date for the next session, he'd have to bring his character sheet weeks earlier, and if something is majorly wrong with it, like his last sheet, he can't join. Honey would have to help him and keep an eye on it. If he brings it late, the chance is gone. And if he can't behave at the table, I'll kick him out then and there. He agrees.
That's just so generous.
So restrictive, like setting him up to fail, knowing him.
Yeah.
But if he straightens up, it'll work. I still believe that Cheese thinks he has a chance of getting into the big campaign. But if it was graded with a point system, whether or not one could get a seat at the table, he'd have negative 100 points.
Oh.
There is no chance he can join, which is why I just want to have him hit the wall if he insists on joining. See how I play, have him have his one campaign, and then when he asks again, I can pull the card, you already played once, so get eaten by a Tarask. Again and again, because I believe, and that's just an assumption, he doesn't respect me. I don't think he respects anybody, honestly.
No.
Yeah. I'm like, buddy, if you want to shake things up and be that controlling, write a book.
Probably because of my gender. I'm not sure, but I won't discount it. my views or something, but that's an accusation I'm kind of confident to make because of the detail I'd like to keep to myself, because I don't want to make it that easy for him to realize this post is about him if we were able to stumble upon it. Okay. When he left the voice chat, I had the other players with me, and I told them my plan. Parsley reminded me of the time Cheese tried to pull off the race stunt, which made me more determined to pull off my plan. I gave the table multiple options for the next session, since Cheese would only play in that session. Be a player at the table with Cheese, don't be a player at the table with him, or get some popcorn and watch the train wreck. So if you're going to play, you have those options. Try to help him, try not to help him, or just watch.
They're like, chances of success are very slim.
Yeah.
The reason I pulled Honey into the rules was because he was the one at the table who was sad about not being able to play with him. I also reminded him of the deadlines twice because I didn't want to remind Cheese. Once when the table set the date, and once when I had the participants for the table. Since then, I believe everyone who had been mentioned will join that session. Wheat told me he wanted to because he wanted to see Cheese suffer. And also, the not telling Cheese about his own deadlines twice and instead telling the person who he has to be accountable to. Definitely setting up Cheese for failure.
Yeah.
Which is totally called for. A little later in the story, when I was busy in my private life, Cheese surprised me again by sending me a character sheet. And a week later, when I forced myself to read it, I didn't see any major problems. Just a cantrip too much and some toilet humor things. So we passed the first checkpoint.
For him, this seems like it's really trying.
How do you go over on a cantrip?
I also had to change the campaign since he had chosen a necromancer wizard, and I planned on surprising the party with a one-shot filled with undead enemies.
Oh.
It's like, oh, whoops. He accidentally chose a really optimal class for this.
In a Pathfinder and probably 3.5, what I think's funny is a lot of the things that look like they're undead are really just constructs made of bone.
Yeah, that is so dumb. But it's easier for me to pick a different one-shot than to read a new, potentially painfully overpowered character. And this is where we are at the moment. The campaign is next week, and Chili has decided he wants to try the role of co-DM because he likes doing combat and drawing maps. I'll stick with the story, social encounters, and NPCs, and he deals with the fighting. We also decided that it'd be a good way for Chili to gain experience with the DMing, and for us both to keep an eye on Cheese and the table. Because every now and then, it feels like kindergarten. I hope you weren't in too much pain, and I'd love to hear more opinions or maybe some tips, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and that's where the story ends.
Man.
So, as of the posting of that story, and, I want to refresh, see if there is an update. Update in comments. What?
Oh, okay.
There's an update. There's more. The saga continues.
Because I'm like, if he's been like mildly behaving himself, I don't know. It seems like no one actually wants him there. I feel like being more firm and just being like, no, you can't pull up is better than just being like, yes, let's set him up for failure. Like, I feel like that just kind of wastes everyone's time because then everyone has to deal with this shit.
Yeah, there are too many comments in this one. Yeah.
I mean, there's just there's a lot to go off of with that too. There's so much to comment on.
I mean, if you can drop the hard R N-word and still get to play for 4 more sessions,
Yeah.
and this guy can't even get a single campaign to let him play without heavy restrictions.
Yeah. Like, the amount of insufferable there has to be just exceptional.
This is why I don't like homebrew stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
051 is also guilty of this. You know the Mage Slayer feat?
Yeah.
You know there's a perfect Mage Slayer feat in
Oh,
homebrew?
shit.
Where basically you can do it with a gun at ranged.
Oh my god.
And, I'm looking at a sheet. It's like, you know what? This is the only egregious thing. It's fine.
Wait, can you not use Mage Slayer with a gun?
It's a melee thing.
I thought it had a ranged. I've been looking at his. Never mind. I was like, yeah,
That's so funny.
it's Mage Slayer. That sounds right.
It's like improved Mage Slayer or something. It's specifically from homebrew. Mage Slayer, it's when someone casts a spell in melee range of you.
Fair enough.
Which is kind of like the reverse of what it used to be, though, because it used to be, if you were casting in melee, that I don't remember if it provoked attack of opportunity, but you at least had a penalty with it. And then you could get a feat that would make it so you didn't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Still, I'm just looking at this thing, and I have characters with Mage Slayer, and then I'm seeing this, like, this is what? I didn't know this existed, and trying to find it, and nope, homebrew.
They're literally like, all right, but what about Mage Slayer, but better?
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
I think the only homebrew, like, big homebrew thing I have is the quick draw feat, and it's just like, if they come within 15 feet of me, I get to shoot them, and I can, like, stow and unstow a weapon as a free action. It's like, cool.
Like Dimension Breach is a very casual game.
Yeah.
Like, I will allow homebrew stuff.
Within reason.
I've also
Within
used it
reason.
once.
Plus, we're just being really goddamn silly most of the time.
Yeah, we're trying to get Vel to space. If he hits Mach 22, he goes as fast as the rocket they sent to the moon.
I'd just like to say that I got him up to like Mach 10 rules as written.
But yeah, Reading versus Strahd, no homebrew shit at all.
Fair enough.
Kink of Strahd, on the other hand, anything goes.
I was going to say, it must be kinky.
Oh my god, Isaac's deep dark secret.
Wrong Isaac. Jesus, you scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, Isaac Strasny.
I guess both Isaacs are kind of going through it right now, huh?
Isaac.
Okay, one is like the real Isaac. The other one is Isaac with a Z and a K.
Yeah.
And he's like a weird demon man.
Nez, do not look up Isaac. Dear God, don't.
Don't do it, Nezera.
Oh my god. The direction his story goes is a Jesus fucking Christ moment.
Jesus. Who the fuck just joined chat? What the fuck is this guy's name?
What?
Someone with the username I am wildly racist man. I mean, hey, at least that means you can play 5 sessions of D&D.
Yeah, weird. I don't see.
They might have swiped through.
Might have.
Oh. All right, that is the end of. I think this is like the 4th episode of Hellfire Horror Stories.
Sounds about right.
This is wild.
All right, night, everybody.
Good night.
Catch you later.